Jay here, Stretford Paddock. We've had a bit of breaking news. Thanks for joining me. Scott McTominay heading to Napoli. That is the latest from David Ornstein, Mr. Reliable, Mr. Tier 1 himself, saying that Scott McTominay will be going to Napoli. It seems that the clubs, Manchester United and Napoli, have agreed a fee of around 30 million quid. I'm going to be getting into all that. Make sure you are getting involved in the chat and the comments. Let us know what you think about this move, about the fee, about the deal, and what does this mean for Manchester United? Obviously, Scott McTominay looks like he's going. Does this mean Manuel Ugarte is coming in? I can see people already asking that in the chat. Make sure you are getting involved. If you're not done already, hit that subscribe button and give us a share as well. Loads of people already in the chat. Listen, I'm going to get into the chats in a minute. And I'm going to, get you guys involved. First of all, I'm just going to give you a bit of a rundown of this story of why we've gone live, what exactly is being said and by whom. So David Ornstein, about 40 minutes ago, tweeted, forgive me for being a bit late. I was doing my hair. It says, exclusive. Napoli agree deal with Man United for Scott McTominay, subject to all parties being satisfied on player terms. 30 million, I think he's got euros, plus a percentage of future sale. Important for Man United FFP compliance, Manuel Ugarte potential signing would be aided by 27-year-old's exit. So it does seem as though McTominay goes out, Manuel Ugarte comes in. 30 million as well, let's not forget. He's an academy graduate. It is all profit, and that matters in these days of profit and sustainability. So I've got the full article. I can go into it here because it's for The Athletic. So he said what I've just told you there. A fee in the region of around 30 million euros. That's 25.4 million quid has been settled on, and United would receive a share of any future sale from the Italian side. McTominay is under contract at Old Trafford until 2025, and United have an option to extend by 12 more months. So discussions still need to be finalised with the 27-year-old. As an academy graduate, McTominay's sale would represent pure profit, and that makes this situation important for United's compliance with Premier League and UEFA financial rules. They have a replacement lined up in the form of Paris Saint-Germain's Manuel Ugarte, and activating that would be aided by the sale of McTominay. Napoli sporting director Giovanni Manna has held exhaustive talks in London and Manchester as the Serie A team works to secure the Scotland international, Chelsea's Romelu Lukaku, and Billy Gilmour of Brighton and Hove Albion. It's a shame they didn't buy Billy Gilmour before the weekend, wasn't it? In the 23, he goes on to say, in the 23-24 season, McTominay had his best goal-scoring campaign, netting 10 times in 43 appearances. He has also improved his goal rate for Scotland, scoring 8 goals since March 2023. That's a phenomenal return. The Athletic reported earlier this month that Fulham had made a £20 million bid to sign McTominay as they look to add to their midfield following the departure of Polina to Bayern Munich. That offer fell below United's valuation. Fulham have since signed Sander Berge, a midfielder United were interested in from Burnley. So that's the nuts and bolts of it all there. You can see there, it looks like McTominay's going to go if he agrees to it. It's not been finalised yet. He's got to agree to the terms, but it looks like the clubs have agreed to the terms. Now, with that, you would imagine that there's been some form of discussion along the way about McTominay's willingness to go to Italy. You can't imagine that the clubs sit down, they do all these deals, and they go, yeah, great, everything's agreed. And Scott McTominay says, I ain't going to Italy. I'm not going to Napoli. Forget that. I don't want to move to Naples. I doubt very much that has happened. I guess there's been some sort of indication from the player or from his agent or whatever that he would be open to a move to Napoli. Otherwise, you think that'd be a complete waste of everyone's time. However, it has not been done yet. The players' deal or the player terms haven't been agreed. The fee has been agreed, and that seems to be the main stumbling block with getting McTominay moved on. Fulham, as I've just said there, were willing to pay 20 million. United playing a bit more hardball. In the past, would have probably taken 20 million. You'd have probably gone, oh, well, 25, 20, what's the difference? Sack it, we'll just take the 20 million. However, Ineos doing things a little bit differently, trying to keep up with that profit and sustainability. And if they are going to bring in Ugarte, which I think most people have spoken to, agree would be a good deal, a good move for Manchester United, then it looks like we need to get some decent money for Scott McTominay and we need to move it on. Now, I like Scott McTominay. I think he's a decent player and I think he's a good professional. I think he's one of those who will always give you his all, whether his all is good enough or not. He's a trier. And I think, as I just mentioned there with his stats, his goal-scoring record, particularly last season, was very impressive. 10 goals for a midfielder. I think most midfielders, if they score 10 goals for the club in a season, they keep the place in the team. However, Scott McTominay's not first choice. And I think if everyone's fit, I don't even think he's the next in line. I think your midfield is probably Bruno, Mainu, and Casemiro, and then the next in line would be Mason Mount if everyone's fit, and you were looking at who's going to be in that midfield. Also, I don't think he actually fits into what Erik ten Hag wants to do. So it looks like Manuel Ugarte is a more suited option for Manchester United, and he's a different type of player. He's a more defensive-minded player than Scott McTominay is. And I think, to be fair to Scott McTominay, there was a couple of times last season where I almost found got a newfound respect for Scott McTominay. I've always rated him and thought he was a decent player. I've never thought he was quite good enough if you're going to be winning titles and stuff like that. And I probably still don't. But I have to say I respected his performances last season, particularly in the FA Cup, because if you look in that FA Cup games against Liverpool, he kept going. I think he played the full 120 minutes and he was non-stop. I think he had a hand in the winner as well. He kept going, and he played an integral part of that. And then you look at the FA Cup final against City. His role that day was much different to what he usually does. He's usually being used as an attacking midfielder, and yet he was asked to sort of man-mark Rodri, and he did a very good job on that. I think there was one instance where Rodri got away from him, but other than that, he stuck to him, and he neutered that sort of effect that Rodri has for City, because Rodri isn't just a defensive player. He gets attacks going as well, and I thought McTominay did a very good job there. A bit of an underrated job, so it's like I got a newfound respect for him. However, we saw it last season. He scored a load of goals, and then he got a start in the team, and there was this spell for about 8 or 9 games where it seemed to be that McTominay was the focal point, and it didn't really work. I think his link-up play isn't quite as good as it needs to be. And it was a bit of a weird one from Erik ten Hag, I felt anyway. And I rate ten Hag. I just thought the tactics seemed to be almost like, let's keep the ball, wait till somebody gets in the box and let's try to give it him, which is fine when it's like, the last 5 minutes of a game. But to sort of build your midfield or your attack around that made no sense to me. And eventually United abandoned it. But still a very good move for Scott McTominay. Get involved in the chat and the comments. I'm going to go through loads of comments here because I'm playing catch up. So Jacoya Trot, JB, Tim Wright, all in the chat saying good for all parties. John Adair, you got it tonight. Brian Casey, good to see Brian in there. Afternoon, Jay, hope you're well. I'm good. Andy G says afternoon, Reds. Mr. Vegemite Lover says, is this the most profit we've made from United Academy player in ages? It's very similar to the Mason Greenwood one. I think he's a little bit more than Mason Greenwood. So, yeah, it's probably the most we've made for an academy player for a long, long time. We don't sell academy players for much money. I think even David Beckham was less than this, which says it all, really. I know it was a long time ago, but David Beckham, come on. Flashburn52, good afternoon, peeps. Ryan Turner says, sorry, late, Jay, what's the deal? It looks like it's 25 million quid move for Scott McTominay to go to Napoli. The clubs have agreed the fee. It's now just a case of the player agreeing terms. Whitterbird Vicky says, business on a Sunday. Interesting. Yes, it is interesting indeed. Manuel Lunat says, Ugarte and Frankie de Jong, and then 21 is coming. So he wants a whole new midfield there. I don't know about the Frankie de Jong one. I do expect Ugarte to happen. It does seem as though this is going to pave the way for that to happen. JB says, now we're waiting for a here we go with Ugarte. We are, or even a exclusive from David Ornstein. David Ornstein doesn't really have a saying, does he? He hasn't got a here we go, or what's the other one that kid does? Something we land in it. Here we land or something. I can't remember what it is. You know what I'm on about. Linville B says, did you do your 10K? Jay, yes, I did. It's a good job this news didn't break 2 hours ago, as I think I would have been asleep. I just finished then, so I've had enough time to sort of compose myself. Get the currency correct. Big difference between pounds and euros. Is that, have we got a bit of a mistake there? I thought we had my mistake. I think it's 25 million quid, 30 million euros. If we sell McTominay and get Ugarte and Andre, I'll be over the moon. McTominay is a cockroach. I can see him refusing to leave, says Alex King. I don't know where that's coming from. I don't know what gives you that impression. I'm under the idea or of the opinion that for the clubs to have got this far down the line, there must have been a conversation with Scott McTominay about whether he was willing to go to Napoli or not. I'm not saying he just said, yeah, I'm keen, but he must have been open side here, because it seems a little bit odd to me that the clubs would go through all this, go through negotiations. Ornstein says the negotiations were exhaustive. So there's a lot of negotiating going on to get to the point where the clubs are happy and the player goes, nah, I ain't going. I don't know. I might be wrong, but it would seem a little bit strange to me. And I think it's a bit harsh to call him a cockroach. Get involved. Let me know what you think. Can we use the money to buy a left back so we can use Rashford properly, please? Says Alex King. Didn't have a very good game yesterday, did he? Marcus Rashford, he struggled. I don't know if that's down to left back or down to him. That's another story for another day. I don't think we need to get into all that now because I'm sick of talking about the Brighton game, if I'm being brutally honest. If you want to see a take on the Brighton game, go and see Joe Smith. He had a really good take on how it's not just on the manager, it's also on the players. So did Stephen Houghton as well. You can go and check those videos out on the channel, but not just yet. Let's stick around here. Let's get into this first. Ryan Pitt says, no doubt Scott will smash it in Italy. Good luck, Scott. Cat Like Sleep says, think this is a bad shout. Let me know. Do you think this is a good movie? If you don't, then tell me why. Why not? Because I get it. Because everyone's sort of, oh, this is great. Yeah, everything's hunky-dory. You may have a different opinion. You may say, do you know what? I don't actually think this is a good idea. I think we should keep a player that scored 10 goals for Manchester United, has been here since he was a kid and also played a big part in that FA Cup win last season. I get those arguments. I might not agree with them. I think we need to move Scott McTominay on and bring in Manuel Agati. However, you may have a different opinion. I want to hear your opinion. All opinions are welcome. Brian Casey says, really hope it works out for him in Italy. I agree. Whether you rate Scott McTominay or not, you can't deny the kid's, he's been at United a long time. He's played a lot of games for Manchester United. He's scored some important goals for Manchester United. He's had some great moments in a Manchester United shirt. I look at that game against Leeds where he bagged an early brace. I love that. Do you remember the Leeds fan losing his mind on that watch-along? Absolutely iconic. Talking about iconic as well, the City game. Remember that City game, that late, sort of not winner, but second goal. It was a second goal, wasn't it, against City? I mean, he's had big moments in a Manchester United shirt. Big moments last season. You look at that Liverpool game. You look at that Manchester City game in the FA Cup. Scott and all the goals he scored as well. The brace against Brentford, was it late on? The brace against Chelsea too. The goal at, was it Sheffield United? There's some important goals there along the way. So I don't think you can wish Scott McTominay ill. I certainly wouldn't. I hope it works out for him in Napoli. I do wish him well. I just feel with Scott McTominay, if you're going to start him in your midfield, I don't think that's a title-winning midfield. And I think you have to at least aspire to win the title. You might not do it, but you've got to at least have this idea of we need a team that is good enough to challenge for the title. And for me, Scott McTominay doesn't quite reach those heights. I don't think he's in that bracket. You could argue that Kobbie Mainoo is good enough to win a title. I think he is, especially as he gets older. He's only a teenager. You might argue that Bruno Fernandes is good enough to win a title. You might argue that about Casemiro as well. I know he's fell off a little bit. You might even argue that about Manuel Agati. I think Scott McTominay, is he good enough to win a title? Maybe, maybe not. Probably not, I think, if he's starting week in, week out. I don't think so anyway. Let me know what you think. I think we need to up our game a little bit and move in Scott McTominay on. And it's not even necessarily of, is he good enough or is he bad enough, whatever. Sometimes it's just the style of play that he is, the type of player he is. He's a different type of player to Manuel Agati. Scott McTominay, to me, is more of an attack-minded midfielder. Manuel Agati is more a defensive one. And that's the sort of deal you're doing. You're getting an attacking midfielder out and you bring in a defensive one. And you're also getting rid of a midfielder who isn't first choice and you bring in someone I presume will be first choice. I expect Manuel Agati, when he comes in, to be first choice for Manchester United. I expect him to start for Manchester United. Let's see what Romano said. We've heard from David Ornstein. Let's see what Romano has said. He said, let me have a look at it. Manchester United are set to close Manuel Agati deal, and it can be now a permanent transfer. So there was talk of a loan move. He's saying now it can be a permanent transfer. If all goes to plan with Scott McTominay to Napoli, Man United will proceed with permanent move for Agati as PSG wanted. Agati only wants United. He's ready to travel. What's this as well? Sorry, I think that's a super chat. You got to read it out. Let's have a look here. Sorry, keep them coming. Keep coming in the chat. Sorry, got to get messages there. I was a bit confused. Jay, what's your favourite UK city apart from Manchester? Says Mark Aiden. That's a very good question. That. Well, I lived in London for some time, and I know people don't like London, but I thought it was all right. I lived there for about 4 or 5 years. It was sound. I've had some good nights out in cities like Nottingham and Newcastle. Even whisper it quietly. Back in the day, I had some good nights out in Liverpool. I know. I'm sorry, but it was true. So yeah, there's some decent chats there, decent cities there. I love that. Jace Parker. It's a super chat. You got to read it out. I'm obsessed with that. Aren't I always go on. The city of Salford, says Ben Jones. Yeah, there's a good point. Yeah, the Salford is its own city. I'm going to lose all my Salford brownie points now. It was bad enough when I didn't know that Salford docks meant socks the other week. I should have worked that out. Aaron Moore says, Jay, how dare you? I'm sorry. Phobos Taco Man. I feel we're drifting from the topic here, by the way. It says, what's the background to that quote? Super chat. Got to read it out. Sounds funny. It was Claude, God rest him, on Arsenal Fan TV. I think he was on with Ty. Someone put a super chat in saying Ty chokes on DT's Willie, and he read it out. And he went, what's that all about? And it was hilarious. And then when Ty was saying, what are you reading that out for? He went, it's a super chat. You got to read it out. That's not the rule, by the way. You don't have to read out every single super chat. We tried to. So forgive me if we ever miss one. Glenn F says, morning, Jay. Scott McTominay is a hard training working player without the added class needed for United. Listen, I'll be honest with you. I'll take 10 Scott McTominays every day of the week, or one Scott McTominay over 10 Jadon Sancho's, because at least Scott McTominay plays for Manchester United. At least he turns up. At least he tries to get in the team when he's been dropped. At least he played a part last season with 10 goals, played in that quarterfinal against Liverpool, played in that final against Manchester City, and did a very, very good job for Manchester United. Jadon Sancho is probably a more talented player. Well, he's a more talented player. Look at him. He don't want to know. Look at the big money signing of Anthony. Just didn't work out. Hasn't worked out at all. Scott McTominay came through the academy. He's given his all. He's played some important games for Manchester United. He's scored some big goals for Manchester United. And if he does end up going to Napoli, I, for one, wish him well. And I think he'll be well respected, Scott McTominay, as a player that came through the academy, did well, and then moved on. And also Manchester United have got some money for him, and we've been able, hopefully, to go out and bring in another player that's very useful for Manchester United, Emmanuel Ugarte. Wayne Richards says, Jay, do you think Erik ten Hag should have replaced Casemiro with Collier second half? I don't think Erik ten Hag should have replaced Bruno Fernandes with Scott McTominay. I know Scott McTominay did quite well when he came on. I'm just of the opinion you don't take off a match winner like Bruno Fernandes, but I think, it's fine, man. Like, we can argue about that. I think Joe made a good point that Scott McTominay came on and actually did quite well. You can argue about the fact that how often or how much can you keep sort of running Bruno into the ground. Sooner or later, he might need a bit of a breather, even if it is just the last 10 minutes of a game where you go, look, he looks knackered, let's get someone else on. I get all those arguments. It's just me personally. As for Collier, for Casemiro, maybe. I wasn't really saying that at the time, though, so it would be a bit unfair for me to sit here now and go, oh, this is what I would have done, because I never said that on the watch-along. I never said that watching the game. I wasn't sat there screaming for Toby Collier to come on. Not that he's not a good player, he is. It just wasn't something I thought about at the time, so I'd be a bit sort of, it'd be a bit deceptive to say, oh, yeah, that's what he should have done. I thought that, because I didn't. Blaine O'Donnell said need to score goals. Yep. Glenn F said, so would I, Jay. I can't stand Sancho scum. I won't call him scum, but I get your point about Jadon Sancho. He's got some bridges to build, and I don't think he's been good enough for Manchester United. There's obviously an issue going on there, but we don't want to talk about Jadon Sancho. Let's talk about Scott McTominay. If you're just joining us, it looks like he's heading to Napoli. Ornstein has confirmed there. The clubs have agreed a fee of around 30 million euros, which translates to 25.4 million quid, I think it is. Plus Manchester United will have, I think, the buyback option as well. So it's a good deal for Manchester United. Hopefully it's a good deal for Scott McTominay, and that should, according to the likes of Ornstein and Romano as well, pave the way for Manchester United to make a permanent move for Emmanuel Ugarte from PSG. I'm going to leave it there. Thanks to everyone who got involved in the chat and the comments. Make sure, if you're not doing already, you are hitting like, share, and subscribe. I'm going to be back tomorrow morning outside Old Trafford. Hopefully, we'll have an update on Emmanuel Ugarte. We might have a confirmation that Scott McTominay himself has agreed terms with Napoli. That could be a done deal too. So make sure you are hitting subscribe so you don't miss out on any of that good stuff. I'm Jay Motty. This has been a bit of breaking news. Thanks for watching.